Hello, my name is Brianna Gonzalez, and I want to discuss women who experience machismo culture and how they're less likely to take birth control, leading to higher rates of young mothers. So, the first thing I want to start off with is where did my hypothesis stem from? In my small West Texas town, there's a majority Hispanic population reaching over 60%. So, naturally, when I came to college, I experienced a bit of culture shock. Talking with my classmates, I realized that families have very different goals for their children compared to my predominantly Hispanic community. Growing up, I was always told to find a husband who could support me, get married, and start a family. It's exactly what my abuelita did, what my abuela did, and what my mother did. They all wake up at 4 a.m. to cook the men breakfast, they clean the house and take care of the kids, and seem completely content with their lives. And to be honest, I think my abuela would be more proud of me bringing home a boyfriend than a college degree. But it's not just my family. At least a quarter of my high school class is following in the same footsteps. When I told my roommates about this type of culture in my hometown, they looked at me like I was crazy. And despite these women following this generational line of young girls marrying and having children young, I constantly hear of the goals they once intended to follow. And despite these goals, starting a family outweighed the possibility of more. But why? Why are young girls in Hispanic communities still following this cultural line, even when it means they marry to power-hungry men, despite their dreams of wanting more? Why are they following this line when there are so many options for them that their grandmothers might not have had, like birth control? There are so many answers and possibilities to this question, but I want to focus on the evolution of traits that led to this outcome and how these traits might affect a woman's chances of taking birth control. So, in this podcast, I want to first discuss what machismo culture actually is and the traits it has developed, and then I want to move into how this culture might be affecting women's goals and decisions, including the decision to take birth control. So, first off, what is machismo culture? Men in machismo culture are seen as aggressive and powerful. These men must show that they are protective, strong, and masculine. The macho is very jealous and as a result allows his wife very few liberties. So, one key reason why the macho acts this way is to avoid feelings of inferiority. In research done by Inglesbody, he states that machismo is a cultural trait used to satisfy psychological needs resulting from the inferiority complex in men. Machismo satisfies this need by allowing men to look for feelings of superiority and transmitting them down the generations. So, in short, the trait of the machismo is getting passed down from generation to generation of males in Hispanic households because of their need to protect and feel superior. And because of this, we see a big effect in the woman's role in Latin households. Women are seen as dependent, submissive, and even shown to be dominated, especially when it comes to seduction. So, now I want to move into more of the history behind how these traits came to be. I want to discuss more about how power and violence became a largely represented trait in Hispanic males. So, in hunter-gatherer societies, social and cultural context gives violence its power and meaning, which means that different forms of violence would be tolerated and its use would be culturally legitimized for social control and stability. I feel like this is a very important detail for the machismo culture. Men are allowed so much power because it builds the stable family unit that Hispanic households search for. But because of this, women are limited in power and control, especially when it comes to the decision of building their own human capital. Like discussed in our textbook, everyone is given a limited amount of energy, and each of us must decide where we invest this energy. By women investing in children early in life, they miss out on opportunities of independence. Research also shows that in hunter-gatherer societies, violence has been a constant meaning. Violence has been consistent, meaning that violence will also stay consistent in the future. This leads me to believe that machismo culture will continue to be a trait in Hispanic households as long as violence is used as a source of power. And since the machismo culture will continue to exist, I believe women will continue to invest in families rather than their own human capital, even though possible career opportunities might come along. So the next thing I want to discuss is the cult of virginity, which is a common practice in Hispanic culture. The cult of virginity is when women stay virgins and are indifferent towards sex before marriage. By women staying virgins, it gives men something to protect and feel even more macho when they succeed in seduction, as described by the research by Inglesby. I believe that by giving men power in seduction, it affects women's choice, like delaying into motherhood and the decision to take birth control. See, men feel the most control when they have a family to protect. But as men gain power, women lose power. It's a series of trade-offs. By the woman giving the man family, she's giving up her own human capital. And by woman not giving man family or sex, she is gaining in her own human capital, but losing that protection by man. By taking birth control, woman is still able to invest in her own human capital, but is unable to give the man family, so the man is losing power. In other words, the more a man has to take care of, the more power he has. So the woman is limiting the power when she takes birth control or delays her entry into motherhood. And in this case, man may persuade woman to have children earlier in order to get the most out of his power, even though having children later might be the most beneficial option to all parties involved, including the child. So, taking it back to my initial observation, for years I've heard stories from older women in my family who had dreams other than becoming housewives, but ultimately they didn't have the resources, so their options were limited. But now, women are getting opportunities that their mothers didn't have and still turning them away to start families. For example, I knew a girl in high school who would speak constantly about her dreams of being an engineer. She did exceptionally well in school and went to college for a year. When she came home for the summer, she decided to stay and move in with her money-hungry, verbally abusive long-term boyfriend, who she now has a baby with. And despite her drive for success, the generational line she was born into changed her path towards success. And this is something that we see all across West Texas. So, in conclusion, I believe that machismo culture will continue to push Hispanic women to have children early in life, limiting their own human capital and affecting their decision to take birth control. Thank you.